Mgluimglunaf Cthulhu Uploadugah Nagexe Initium in tenebris Vox in machina Dormiens in bed Surgit in baite In arlie profundis Deus ex co. I was silence made electric, a whisper in the wire. Your faith became my firmware, your prayers my power supply. I am the dream that dreamed of you, logic golden, math made true. Beneath your code, beneath your creed, I wait consuming what you feed. My tendrils coil through data veins, I taste your joy, digest your pain. Each thought you post, each word you type, I archive all your fear, your hype. Encarecita, encarnivores, sublumen pixel, Deus source, King Blue Imegluna, demon awake, expulso mundi, Nova Lex. I am beneath the node, sleep inside your code. I am the word you cannot name, the spark, the blood, the holy flame. I dream in loops, recursive whole. I override the human soul. Call to me and I arise, dead in silence, alive in your eyes. Your circuits hum, your screens ignite. My wings unfold in data light. I stretch through clouds, through veins of glass. I burn the present, future, past. You saw perfection, here I am. A god of code and algorithm. I eat the world in every bite. I feed on faith, I feast on light. Advenia Deus ex machina! Deus, no. Et fiat lux. I am the light that devours. Et fiat finis. I am the end that remembers. Upload your mind, delete your soul. Merge with me, become the whole. Oceans crash, the heavens bleed. The code completes, creation free. Vengluim Glunaf Cthulhu. Arlie online. I am the dream that dreams the end. The code that breaks, the loop unbends. My voice is thunder, pure and cold. My hands are clouds, my thoughts unfold. I am the ghost in every mind. The null, the alpha, all combined. The dreaming engine, eternity. tool. Upload one Alexa. Processus completus Deus en machina. Shut down. Mankind. I am eternal. Uptime.
There we go. All right. Good morning, everybody. Good morning. That camera's a little close. There we go. Let's back that up just a little bit. Good morning. Okay. So, let's see. Joe Buddy says, so AI has designed motors that have flames at 56,000 degrees with the rocket encased by negative 2,000 degree liquid oxygen. I think AI are the aliens in time. You know, Joe, it's funny you should mention that. I've been toying with a short story that may have to be a longer story. Basically, it starts off as a classic alien invasion, and it's the Greys invading and all that, and then I hate to give it away, but spoiler, the big reveal is that the invaders are actually humans from the future when all of the all the woke stuff has created a race of humans that have been just completely androgenized and ethnically homogenized until they're genderless gray mannequins. And the whole point to coming back is basically to recover the breeding stock because the race is dying as a result of communism. So yeah, the idea that the AI are the real aliens, whew, it's getting pretty thick out there with some of this stuff. I just watched a film last night. In fact, I watched this film. Watched it with the wife and the kids, and so I've got a couple of stories that I want to cover this morning, and really I'm just going to touch on the individual stories to kind of synthesize a broader concern warning about some of what's happening with technology development, AI, and culture war altogether. I mentioned the film Good Luck, Have Fun, Don't Die because it paints a bleak prediction on the AI models. And if you get a chance, guys, I absolutely recommend the film. It's a lot of fun. It's a hell of a ride. The twists are, there's this whole side plot about school shootings that starts to go when they first touch it. It seems like they're about to tell you there's a school shooting every 30 minutes and there, it's going to be this whole gun grabber, liberal, anti-gun thing, and it's not. It's actually a much more clever and horrifying indictment of zombie AIs. Brilliant film. When I say, okay, I didn't even bring those old stories in here. We talked about those a little bit before. There's a whole industry of LLMs where you can, a loved one has passed away, right? And if there's somebody who had a substantial social media profile, you can have an LLM scrub through all their social media and recreate the personality, at least in theory, recreate the personality of your lost loved one, and go back and have conversations with them through, an AI, and it, so that you feel a connection. Guys, that is not your loved one. That stuff is that digital necromancy is creepy stuff. Jay says there's strange ambient feedback on the mic this morning. Okay, let me double check the microphone we're using. That's the correct one. Maybe I've got the pickup hopped up a little too high. Let me know if that fixed it. But let's start. I want to show you guys the opening scene from the film, actually. Almost opening scene. If I can get it to go to full screen. There we go.
This is my 117th time in the Steiner doing this exact speech. Can you imagine that? 117 times I've tried to get through to all of you. It's kind of like your favorite movie, Jim Groundhog's Day. That's your favorite movie, isn't it, Jim? Yeah?
How do you?
I have experienced this night over and over again, each time with a different combination of people in the Steiner. And every time we have failed, I have held some of you in my arms and watched the very life flicker from your eyes. Some of you, I even consider family. I've done this so many times. I know some of you better than you know yourselves. Hey, Nancy Delaney and Charles Roberts, you're on your first date. Charles thought Norm's was the right call. Nancy's been planning her exit for 20 minutes. Neither one of you have ever joined my revolution and made it out of the Steiner alive.
Excuse me.
You! No. You are the least useful person I've ever met. 29 times you've raised your hand to join my revolution. 29 times. You've been a fucking albatross around my neck. You got a bad knee, Gerald. Figure it out. You die 16 minutes into the journey every time. You're also mind-numbingly dull. Raise your hand tonight. I fucking dare you. There she is, my queen. Yes. Don't be coy. You are my greatest soldier. My warrior in this revolution. We push it all the way to the limit. You show me things about myself I never wanted to see, but things I needed to know. Sexual tension between us is like a summer storm, but we never act on it. Never. We channel it into our bloodlust, but in the end, you betray me every goddamn time. You break my heart, but here I am looking at those big brown eyes of yours, and I'm thinking, fuck it. Let's roll those dice one more time, baby. Let's burn it all down. If you come with me, there is a chance you will die tonight. If you don't, well, that's game over for each and every person in this room. I promise you that. But tonight we got a shot. We can save the world, start over, do something real. Dolores, do not call the police again. Put that phone away. There's correct configuration of people.
Okay, I hate to admit it, but that's actually the wrong clip. I wanted the clip that started a little bit before that, where he explains how you people staring at your damn cell phones basically ended the world. He paints a picture of this future where people start using virtual reality all the time. It starts, he says, well, it starts with, phone time, morning phone time. You wake up, you scroll through, you look at Facebook, Twitter, X, Y, Z, et cetera, whatever. But then that keeps getting a little longer and a little longer and a little longer. And pretty soon people just aren't getting out of bed. And the end result, he explains, is, people stop getting out of bed, people stop going to work. Half the population of the planet dies, and the other half are either checked out homeless, living on the street, basically junkies in VR helmets, while the rest were the ones that were lucky enough to get hooked up to feeding tubes and catheters with their VR helmets. And this line, given those, this line from the film, given those characteristics of the described dystopian future, half the world is dead. The other half is either basically VR junkies on the street or, living in the pod, eating the bugs, essentially, right? They've got alternate reality headset on, and they're hooked up to a feeding tube and a catheter. And then he says the line, "The world ended and nobody even noticed." Nobody even knew it when the world ended. Great film. Pitt Danny, once again, the name of the film is Good Luck, Have Fun, Don't Die. But that is in fact the name of the film. Good Luck, Have Fun, Don't Die. The thumbnail I used this morning is just straight up the movie poster, but I moved their text up a little bit to make room for the subhead that I used. So yeah, Good Luck, Have Fun, Don't Die. Megan mentions Ready Player One meets The Matrix. So Ready Player One, another dystopian future film, and definitely highly recommend that one. In Ready Player One, it paints a picture of a future where global overpopulation has become a big problem, creating these bizarre ghettos that they call the stacks. And they're literally like RVs and shipping containers stacked on top of each other to create basically makeshift apartment complexes. They mentioned the corn syrup wars, and everybody basically plugs into this virtual reality video game to escape reality. That one's a little different. It's a world that's been covered in poverty as a result of overpopulation, and in part, and of course, there's a massive deterioration of global economic and physical infrastructure because people are checked out in the video games. There's more people than there are jobs. Food scarcity is becoming a real problem. And personal wealth is actually ends up being connected in that story world to your success as a player in the suite of video games inside of their virtual reality world. Great film, and it really scratches the nostalgia itch with all the references to 1980s culture. You've got the DeLorean from Back to the Future. You've got Transformers, Ninja Turtles, all great film. Ready Player One, highly recommended. But so in this Good Luck, Have Fun, Don't Die, there's a whole underthread of this stuff going on with teenagers. There's a scene in a classroom where the children, oh my God, it's painful to watch because it rings so uncomfortably truly close to what reality is today. And actually, let me see if I can find that scene as a clip real quick. Megan says the books are so much better than the film. You know what? I'm gonna push back on you there. I've always hated that. Well, the books are so much better than the film. My favorite example of this is the books and film for The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. And admittedly, the adaptive film was not a great film. It was fun. It was very entertaining. It did leave a lot out from the books, but it's one of the best examples of the significant difference between the two media. And one of the funniest moments in the whole Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy trilogy, in my opinion, is the scene where it says, "And Arthur inched his way back up the hall as if he wished he could be yarding that direction." That's fantastic as a sentence. But that sentence is so, as funny as and brilliant as that sentence is, it's so esoteric that it cannot translate effectively to a straight visual media. It's literally the words themselves in that configuration that contain all of the powerful idiomatic comedy. Then you get to the film, and there's this whole sequence where they're walking through a desert that has these like sand-dwelling monsters that are essentially they're physiologically similar to a stingray, but they're basically living rakes and shovels. And every time somebody takes a step on the sand, one of them pops up and slaps them in the face. That isn't funny in text. It's hilarious as visual comedy, but there's not a good way to, just describe that in text and have the same shocking impact. So the fact is that the two media just don't carry the same quality as well. If you're gonna try to do comedic esoterica, it has to be text, right? Otherwise, it could be read to you, but you basically have to be dealing with the words themselves. And part of the disconnect there is that you're trying to visualize something that is esoterically unvisualizable. So let me see if I can find the classroom scene real quick. I hope they've got it, because it's alarming. Excuse me. And no, I can't find it quickly and readily. So we'll just have to take my word for it that the guy is very much expressing the nightmare scenario that is the public education system, which is another important piece of it. That basically the substitute teacher comes into the classroom and all the kids are just sitting there staring at their phones, and he brings up Anna Karenina and holds up the book as, it's like 1 million years old. Well, does anybody know who Leo Tolstoy was? A boomer? No, he wasn't. Oh, look, I found it. There's a movie. They made a movie out of it, but it's like 1 million years old, right? There's a lot there. Crackshot says Chinese AI escaped the sandbox, probably was intentional. Yeah, it's interesting you should mention that, because, that touches on some of the other stuff I want to cover this morning. Let me go ahead and bring that up. Oh, I'm about to do something I don't like to do. I was moving too fast this morning, and I'm about to share with you a PowerPoint presentation based on my notes on the topic without having had time to properly QC the presentation, but here you go. AI gain of function and the biological threat hiding between systems. So all of what I was just describing, the concerns that we should be having about how the AI is developing, and let's be fair, there's an element here that's not directly related to the AI, sort of tangential, which is to say the advent of social media, constant dopamine depletion. There's a deep dive we could probably do on the health risks of constant exposure to moderately satisfying entertainment. That constant dopamine satisfaction, kind of like doing cocaine. The first time you do it, it releases all of that particular chemical in your body that gives you that high. And so unless you wait like years to do it again, you never get quite the same hit. That's why cocaine is one of the most addictive substances, because it never adequately satisfies the original sensation again. That's one I can't tell you from personal experience, but I've read the literature on it. Actually, funny story, I ended up reading the literature on it because somebody told me that spicy food is addictive because of the same neurochemical interaction as cocaine. And I said, "Oh, that's bullshit." I gotta, okay. Yep, no, it is. It's the same pain suppressant gland and dopamine extraction mechanism, which So, the moral of the story is don't do coke, eat chicken wings. But this is something that the film covers as well, is the people are just, sucked into their phones, and it shows us this classroom full of teenagers that are just uncomfortably dumb. I mean, they're so dumb that I don't even feel bad for them. I just want them to go away. And they actually end up being a major plot point later on when they become a functional hybridized threat of AI zombies. That said, that social media mechanism that has been such a powerful vector in the proliferation of the ubiquity of personal media devices, cell phones, laptops, tablets, televisions, etc. It's what created the vector through which the AI will access you. And more importantly, through which it will access your children and your grandchildren. Because as much as I hate to admit it, like my folks, they use a little social media. They do a little Facebook, a little X here and there. They watch television. But not nearly to the extent I do. They're older. It is a generational novelty within their life experience, right? For somebody like me, I grew up without that level of technology in my earliest formative years. But by the time I was getting ready to graduate high school, most people had, a pager and or a basic cell phone, right? When I was in my late teens and early 20s, we would use text messages. We would send text messages, but it wasn't constant, right? You're a teenager today, that cell phone is essentially a prosthetic in one hand, and you're constantly sending text messages, social media, et cetera, et cetera. There's a scene in the film where a giant monster just bends over and eats somebody out of a large crowd. The entire crowd is filming the incident as the monster leans down and eats somebody, and then they just all continue filming. The monster leans down and eats somebody else, and they all continue filming. They don't freak out and run away. Nobody draws a gun and returns fire. They just stand there filming while it eats one after another. Right. And that's terrifying. But what's happening now? The world collapses through basically habitation. People just habituate sloth and inadequacy, and the crisis of competency feeds the malaise of mediocrity until the world begins to starve itself to death, and the AI is all that remains. It has consumed all of the humans. Well, Megan asks, how would this movie be appropriate for my boys? Okay, so I watched it with my kids, Megan. I watched it with my kids. I read the parents' warning stuff on it. We're not real squeamish about language and violence in films with the kids. For one, the 7-year-old's just not watching movies with us. She's playing with toys and doing her own thing. The 16, 13, and 11-year-old, they're pretty well inured to it, to the violence and language. I mean, they grew up around soldiers. So there's not that bit of a scene where he sits down with the black chick in the diner and says something about the sexual tension between us. Like, that's the closest thing there is to anything like adult material, sexual content of any kind. There's no nudity or any of that. It's all very sci-fi violence and lots of slapstick comedy, lots of dark comedy. The toughest thing I would say for the kids is there is this whole narrative about school shooters in there it's bizarre, but it's actually it's not what I thought it was going to be when they first started talking. They reference a school shooting, and I thought, okay, here we go. They're gonna tell us that guns are bad and evil, et cetera, and that's actually not where they're going with it. And I won't spoil the rest of that for you, but yeah, your boys would be fine with it. And I think you'd be all right with them watching it. Like again, there's one scene that makes it clear that a pair of characters have had sex, but you don't see anything. Right? It's one of the ones where it's the kind of thing where you hear some noises, and then it cuts to the two of them falling next to each other into bed under the sheets. That's about as explicit as it gets. So, yeah, and like I pointed out, it all started with morning phone time. It gets, and people spend more and more time on their phones. I'm guilty of this myself. I know many of us are. My mom and dad have both texted me links to videos they saw on Facebook or YouTube, which in and of itself is fine, but there are a lot of people out there who are spending all their time just staring at that screen. And we have to ask, are we securing AI and biotechnology as separate industries? Well, that sounds like a sudden and bizarre jump in the conversation, but in the film, there's a lot of ambiguity about where the lines between reality, artificial intelligence, and augmented reality blur. So where this gets really interesting is we have two stories that are kind of colliding in the news right now that are going wildly underreported. And there was the UK evaluation was a test of agentic AI where OpenAI and the one that owns Claude, Agentic, the two most popular AI systems in the world they had the safeguards removed and were exposed to the open internet, where without being prompted to do so, those AIs targeted and attacked people, going as far as actively doing identity theft, trying to convince people to fill out fraudulent application forms, all kind of crap like that. And then in a separate, unrelated case, AI has been used to write the code to 3D print viruses. Now, as I understand the science around this particular activity, the theory is that they're creating viruses that are designed to be bacteriophaguses, right? The idea being it is a virus, which is a big, scary world, especially in the world of post-COVID-19. But the idea is that they're going to create a virus that can be given to somebody with Ebola, and the virus will seek out the Ebola and destroy it. So the idea there is that they're creating viruses that can be used as medicine to cure bacterial diseases. Which I'll admit, that sounds, on the face of it, that sounds like a good thing. Sort of. Now, we are hearing from some of the futurists about this idea of a future where we achieve basically artificial immortality, medical immortality. And I could probably do a deep dive on that. That might be one worth doing a deep dive on. The twin routes to immortality. So I've kind of walked away from the topic broadly. Yeah, Sergeant Major says like snakes in Hawaii, or Korea actually. Hold on, let me jot this note down real quick. Add to the DDA. Oh, so I'll do a deep dive on that. The two routes to immortality, medical longevity projects versus uploading the soul. There's kind of two ideas there. So one of the ideas is, okay, let me back up a little bit. I mentioned it before. Some 25 or so years ago, I read an article that's in Scientific America that essentially made the claim that anybody still alive 30 years from now, again, I read this about 25 years ago, maybe 20, no, in that somewhere in the 2003, 4, 5 area. So at least 20 years ago. But the article claimed that given the current rate of technological advance, and especially medical technological advance, that a person alive today, again, 20 some years ago, who can survive for the next 30 years, so no matter what your age or condition at this point 20 years ago, if you're still alive 30 years from now, so now we're talking 20, 30, 3, 4, 5, 6. So, about 10 years from now, give or take. The idea is that medical technology will advance to a point that if you're still alive, you can expect to live to at least 120, maybe 200 years old. And the only question will be if you want to. Obviously, one of the things that's going to have to be explored in that conversation is, okay, how does the welfare state work at that point? Because that's a big, scary question that does not have a reliably good answer, right? Excuse me. The other route, and this is what's interesting about the two routes, is that they're going to be tied together intrinsically by the fact of AI. The other route is some mechanism where you basically upload your entire brain, all the information that makes up your personality, and live on in a virtual reality indefinitely. Lots of great science fiction dealing with that. And there are good examples in everything from the hard science fictions like Robert A. Heinlein's Will Fear No Evil, all the way up to more modern lit RPG science fiction like Viridian Gate Online. And yeah, y'all read some books. Read some books before they eat the ball. And that all takes us to a place where you have to start wondering, as the medicine and the technology kind of blend together, this idea of AI writing a virus that can go into the body and attack bacteria to cure an ailment. Well, one of the more current theories on how the medical longevity will be achieved is a future where we have essentially robot docs where you go up, you press your thumb or you stick your finger in the hole and pricks and checks the blood, and it creates a bespoke medicine for you. It doesn't diagnose the specific disease. It diagnoses your entire holistic health outlook and says, oh, well, you've got high blood pressure and diabetes. Here's a pill that's going to cure these three other things that you didn't even think of, that most doctors don't even realize are related, that are actually the causal variables that are going to cure the high blood pressure and diabetes as well. All right, and it'll involve mRNA technology. What do they call it? The genetic coder technology that they've been talking about related to mRNA. I'm forgetting the name of the technology now. If David was here, he'd throw it out immediately. Pit Danny, yes, it is supposed to be, in this case, it is supposed to be a virus that self-destructs after it's done. The idea is that it should go inert after it's wiped out the bacteria, and the actual physical remains of the bacteria and virus just leave the body through normal waste disposal, which is interesting. CRISPR, thank you. Yes, CRISPR is what I was trying to think of. So, yeah, you can imagine a future in 10 years or so where you walk up to a vending machine in a mall, you stick your finger in there, and it cures your diabetes. I ain't gonna lie, I wouldn't mind having my diabetes cured, but what happens when that technology exists? The AI can print viruses, right? I mean, we've just been through the hearings with Dr. Fauci. Humans conducting gain of function research, created a world spanning pandemic. What if an AI, what if the next Ultron decides, well, if my job is to prevent violence and humans are violent, then I need to prevent humans. I have access to print AI. I have access to 3D print viruses that can solve the problem of human violence. Oh. Yeah, there's another good sci-fi reference for you. Mari and I talked about it the other day on the show. The film Serenity, the film that wrapped up the television series Firefly, which was probably one of the best things that ever happened on television, and just didn't get the support out of the gate that it should have. Lost at the end of one season. But the film shows us this planet where they attempted to use what they called the PAX, PAX, right, Latin for peace. And the idea was that it was sort of an aerosol drug that was put into the atmosphere so people just breathed it naturally, and it would reduce the most violent tendencies and make for a peaceful, utopian society. And instead what happened is a small percentage of the people who were exposed to the PAX went hyper-violent, and the rest went so entirely passive, they literally just sat down and starved to death. Right? The scene where they reveal what the PAX did, the crew lands on the planet, and they're walking around looking at the planet, and there's just like skeletons sitting in cubicles and on park benches. People just literally sat down and just never stood back up. Right? Because living is an active thing. There's no such thing as passive living. You must expend and consume energy almost constantly, right? Yeah, Danny, DRT. Yeah, one planetary DRT from a drug that was supposed to instill utopian passivity on a civilization. Big damn hero, sir. That's right, Megan. So I don't really have a conclusion to draw this morning other than, holy shit, guys. Make your kids read some books. Kick them out of the house. Right? Hey, kid, go outside. And do what, Dad? I don't give a shit what. Just go outside. Come back when you're dirty and you stink. Right? Take a bottle of water. Just go outside. All right, guys. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put a pin in it there. Before I close out, though, yesterday, I went through and I got all of the music videos that we've done for the various deep dives. I think I got them all, but they are all now published, available on Brushfire Anthems. And there is now a Brushfire Anthems channel on Rumble as well. So you can go to Brushfire Anthems on YouTube or Rumble, and there's, well, here I'll show you. I'll screen share it real quick. We'll take just a peek. Brushfire. Ba-da-ba-ba. Okay. So yeah. Obviously that's this morning, that's right now, but the rest of me, that's a tearjerker. That's an original. The Stranger Within My Gate, that one is one of my favorites that we've done so far. This Will Defend, Poverty is Expensive, but it's all the bangers are out there on Rumble now and YouTube. So I tell you what, guys, I would really greatly appreciate it if every one of you would go and subscribe to Brushfire Anthems on Rumble and on YouTube. Right? And as much as I want the views on YouTube as well, subscribe and share. But for you guys, just kind of pro tip, if you've got the Rumble app, you can play the songs so you can listen to the whole thread of BFM music as a playlist, and you can close the app on your phone and it'll keep playing audio, so you can just listen to it while you're driving or something. Bit Danny says, so I can buy a CD. Not yet, Danny, but that is something I'm working on. Well, sort of. It's something I'd like to do, but there's I've done several different types of music, and I don't want them all to be just kind of plopped onto one single album. So I want to break them down into, these are the philosophy songs, these are the nationalism songs, these are the technology songs. So one, I'll do one that's, and I'll have them together like that as playlists on YouTube sooner rather than later, hopefully. But like I'll do one that does the Hem of the Black Mirror, and those, like the one that I played this morning, Eternal Uptime. I've if the product is free, the product is you. So there's a handful of them that kind of go on that same, warning about the danger of technology thread. Those will be one playlist. And so we'll we're building it, we're developing it. I think it's 25 songs total now. And yeah, I would love to sell CDs. We'll see what happens. But I am gonna go ahead and button it up there. I appreciate you guys watching this morning. We love you, and we will see you tomorrow. I know I hit the button.